In the Dark Ages, the Bible was reserved for the Catholic priests, and it was forbidden to copy it. Despite risking their lives, they rebelled against these prohibitions, and they copied and smuggled out the Bible from places such as this. The mountains that girded their lowly valleys were a constant witness to God's creative power, and a never-failing assurance of His protecting care. Those pilgrims learned to love the silent symbols of Jehovah's presence. They indulged no repining because of the hardships of their lot. They were never lonely amid the mountain solitudes. They thanked God that He had provided for them an asylum from the wrath and cruelty of men. They rejoiced in their freedom to worship before Him. Often, when pursued by their enemies, the strength of the hills proved a sure defense. From many a lofty cliff they chanted the praise of God, and the armies of Rome could not silence their songs of thanksgiving.
It was the Roman Emperor Justinian who made a decree that the Pope was to have both religious and political power. And when the Goths in 538 AD were driven out of Rome, then the Pope solidified his power. All this was prophesied beforehand by the prophet Daniel, the Apostle John, and Paul. A falling away would come, a false gospel would be preached, and an Antichrist will come forth from the ruins of the Roman Empire and place himself as a leader, even as a god in the Christian Church. He would receive his power from the dragon or from the Roman Empire, and will continue with the same cruelty and teachings of their heathen gods, but this time cloaked in Christianity. Here you can see the Roman gods Dionysus and Pan and Constantine and Justinian's summer palace, proving they clung to their pagan gods despite outwardly promoting the Christian faith. In Justinian's aqueduct, we can see the Roman mythological figure Medusa. Medusa had the hair of serpents and was to the Romans a goddess who protected the warriors, houses, and buildings. Here in Ephesus you can also see her, with the famous serpent, and she's now posing in the ceiling of the Vatican. When the Roman religious power decided to replace their pagan gods with Christ, they began on a religious struggle for power that the Pope continued. Pagan mentality, just with Christian names. Many pagan temples were simply turned into Christian churches. This church in Rome is built upon an old Mithra temple. Mithra was the son of the sun god, the bringer of light and the saviour. Here is a famous depiction of Mithra, with an illustration of the sun and the moon god either side, and here on a statue of Diana. Here, placed on either side of a crucified Christ in the Catholic Church. This Christian bowl shows the mixture of Roman symbolism with Christian, satire, and the god Eros with the cross above, so it can be used in the Christian church. On this church camel from the treasures in the Vatican, we can see the Roman god of nature just above the emblem of the Pope. This demon was also common in Babylon. You can see him here, and in the world of Egyptian mythology, his name was Bes. The Roman goddess Venus was supposedly born from a shell. Here in this early Christian ornamental box is Venus in her shell, surrounded by Christian inscriptions. The shell represented the goddess Venus in ancient Rome. Today, it's the favourite decor of the Catholic Church. Here is a statue of Christ holding a shell that represents Venus. The shell was also used in the mythological world of India. Here is the Greek Poseidon, or the Roman Neptune with a shell over his head. The shell was a common symbol in the Roman Empire. Here from a Catholic church. Here is the shell again in a Roman building with Neptune's trident above it. And here in a Roman Catholic church. And here from another church, where it's Jesus Christ who lifts up the shell. An old Roman statue of Venus. And here, Catholic. The god Eros was a baby with wings. He was often depicted holding a bunch of grapes, and was a very popular decoration in the Roman Empire. Here's the god Eros in his new job, here in a Catholic church where he's holding the cross. Here, Eros is crowning Mary. Here, he's being very helpful holding up the Pope's tiara. The cross again. And here, on an emblem of the Pope. Here, the god Eros is counterfeiting baby Jesus. Many think that the halo is a Christian phenomenon, but it's not. It comes from paganism and the Roman Empire. Here's the god Neptune and his wife with a halo. Here's the god Sol with a halo on an ancient mirror. Here's the halo behind the head of the serpent from the time of the Emperor Augustus, a tradition that was Christianized by the Catholic Church. The use of halos probably originated in the East. Here's the halo behind the head of Buddha. And 3 female figures, each with a halo. The Catholic Church has placed the halo behind the head of the Apostle Peter, and behind Mary, Jesus and the Apostles, and also their saints. The halo of the Roman sun god was very special. It had sunbeams protruding from it, here from Pergamon, and here from ancient Rome. Here the Catholic Church has placed the halo behind the head of God. Maybe it's the sun god in disguise. The Bible never once mentions female angels. Female angels come from Greek and Roman mythology and represent the goddess Nike or Victoria. Today this goddess is commonly seen in the Catholic Church. The goddess Nike is recognizable by her bare breast, her wings and her unique hairstyle, like here in ancient Ephesus. Here, Nike has a new job, to honour the papacy in the Vatican. Here's the goddess Athena, in this well-known posture, with her helmet, snakeskin dress draped around her body and displaying the pendant of Medusa's head. Here, from the Catholic Church, by the Pope's feet, sits the twin sister of Athena, with the helmet, the snakeskin and the Medusa head. When you've studied the Roman religio-political power, it's not hard to see that the papacy continued the Roman method of government in religious matters. The Pope even adopted the titles of the Roman emperors and Rome's symbols, like Pontifex Maximus and the Father of the People. The Emperor Augustus became the high priest over many different religions, and the emperor that succeeded him did the same. Here he is, dressed in the priestly garments of Pontifex Maximus. The symbol was the ladle. Here you can see it among other priestly symbols from other priesthoods. The emperor's title, Pontifex Maximus and Father of the People, can be seen engraved on Roman coins, a title and symbol that the Pope of Rome adopted for himself. Here we can see a coin with the Pope and the title of Pontifex Maximus. And here from St. Peter's Basilica. The Roman Emperor was also high priest for the Augur priesthood, who was a master of astrology. On this old Roman coin you can see the Pontifexes and the hook beside it as the Augur priesthood's symbol and staff. The popes continue the tradition of using the staff with the symbol of the Augur priesthood. After Julius Caesar died, when Augustus came to power, he built a temple over Emperor Caesar's tomb. Augustus was the driving force behind the deification of Caesar. After that, he could call himself the Son of God, and that gave him more power. The Pope's claim is no less today. He claims for himself the title, the Vicar of the Son of God, and demands power accordingly. Pergamon was a city in Asia Minor that is mentioned in the Bible as the place where the throne of Satan was. Pergamon was the place where they first built temples in honour of the emperors, in order to worship them as gods. The Christians in the Roman Empire suffered martyrdom because they refused to bow before any of the emperors. The Pope continued in the emperor's agenda, only cloaked in a Christianity, and succeeded therefore in duping Christians to bow before him and serve him. Not only that, but all the idols and icons of gods who the Christians previously refused to pray to were no longer so threatening when they were named after saints. Notice this hand sign that can be seen on the statues of popes. Statues of Christ, and even in the Far East. This hand sign was part of a cult in the Roman Empire, the cult of Sabazius, who originally was a mixture of Zeus and Dionysus. Here's a statue of Zeus, or Jupiter. Now it's on the illustrations of Jesus, and here on the statue of Peter. Jesus again, and the Pope. You may well wonder if there's any god in the Roman and Greek Empire that the Roman Catholic Church has not incorporated in some way or another into their churches today. Pagans place their gods in altars like this. Here you have a goddess in an altar. Here's another goddess. And in the same way, the Catholic Church worships her gods. Here's Mary, and here's Mary again. This is from Pompeii, a Roman city. They placed their idols in altars like this. In Rome today, the Virgin Mary with child. The Church preserved the pagan tradition. This is what Baal looks like, and this is the stone icon they used when they worshipped him. It's exactly what God abhors. Catholics today use icons of Christ to pray to. The concept of nuns and monks was also adopted in from Babylon and Roman tradition. Instead of having nuns for Vesta, they now have nuns for Christ. Completely pagan tradition and philosophy. The Babylonians, the Egyptians, the Greeks and Romans all had a tradition that the rulers took upon themselves symbols of whichever gods they honoured, and also to show that these gods honoured them. The divine symbols also showed that the god was present there. Here's the Roman Emperor Antonius, dressed like the sun god Osiris. Here's Alexander the Great, with the attributes of the god Zeus, the horn. Here, Alexander's dressed in the lion headdress, that was the symbol of the god Hercules. This woman, at the feet of the Pope in St. Peter's Basilica, is wearing the headdress of Hercules. Here's the Emperor Augustus, with the attributes of Jupiter, holding the globe, and before it was destroyed, he was holding the staff. And here from a Catholic church, here it's Jesus who holds the attributes of Jupiter, the globe and the staff. Here from pagan Pergamon. And the woman with the globe has also found her place in the Catholic Church. Here's the Greek god Zeus, with the well-known symbol, the bolt of lightning. In St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, this woman holds the lightning bolt of Zeus in one hand and a cross in the other. Others also hold Zeus's attributes, here again from St. Peter's Basilica. The sun god Sol's identification was of course the sun halo. Here again from St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, the woman at the feet of the Pope wears the halo of the sun and the cross. The god Isis, with a snake entwined around her arm, with its head held in her hand. Here you can see the same symbol in the Catholic Church. In the Catholic Church you can see baby Jesus with the globe and two fingers pointing upwards. No different from what we find in the Far East, here with two fingers up and the globe in his hand. Here's Mary with the sun behind her and the globe in her hand. The Babylonians spread around the pagan religion over the whole world, especially in the Middle East. Under the Roman Empire, the world's religions were gathered together under one roof. And when the papacy came and took over the Roman emperor's title and crown, then the Church also took over all the traditions of Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece and Rome, thus sealing their apostasy in the name of Christ. These cities in Babylon were once centres of religion, and their teachings were spread abroad by the travelling merchants. Originally, the false teachings of ancient Babylon spread around the future nations of the world when the Tower of Babel failed and the people were dispersed. This is where the sun god originated from, and therefore sun worship. These famous symbols belong to the sun god and his kingdom. Among them, solar wheel, solar cross, the sun and eagle's wings, the serpent and the moon. Here you can see all these symbols together, the cross around his neck, the serpent on his head, the half moon and the sun over his head, and the eagle's wings at the top. The sun god was the giver of life. Here the sun delivers the Ankh, or life. Shamash, the Babylonian sun god, had this symbol, the straight-edged cross and the wavy sunbeams emanating from it. Here's the sun god on his throne with his mark on the altar in front. Here's the mark of the Babylonian sun god in a Catholic church, with two people inside who are supposed to be Mary and Jesus. The church developed this symbol. Here's another cross with the undulating sunbeams. The Babylonian pendant shows a very special design, the straight sunbeams and the undulating sunbeams all mixed within each other. And here we see the same symbol in the Catholic Church, who clearly keep Babylon's tradition. The symbol of the sun was loved in Babylon because they honoured the sun god, and today it's in the Catholic Church who also exalt the sun god. You can find them on relics, altars and surrounding icons of God. From St. Peter's Basilica again, the woman at the feet of the Pope is holding the sun as if it were her baby. Here's another at the feet of the Pope, and the sun on her chest. And here again from St. Peter's Basilica. The God in heaven never intended for sun symbols to be mixed into worship for him, nevertheless, here in the Catholic Church. Here's a statue of the Pope with the sun on each hand. The sarcophagus of a Pope with the sun on his hand, here again. Is he a priest for the sun god, or for the God of heaven? The solar wheel was also famous in sun worship in Babylon. Here also from Babylon. Here we see the solar wheel decorating a pagan temple in India. Here from the famous temple in Dendera in Egypt, the sun wheel with the zodiac around it. And here we see Mary lifting up the solar wheel. This is probably the world's largest solar wheel in St. Peter's Square at the Vatican, in the city of the Catholic Church, Rome. The woman holds the solar wheel, here from the Catholic Church, and here from Babylon, and here again as decor on a Catholic church. The half moon is also a famous religious symbol from Babylon, here with the sun above it. Here on a seal from Babylon, here again on another artifact. Here we have the Egyptian god with the same symbol, here again from Babylon. Here, in front of a Catholic church, you see the symbol by the foot of the cross, with the famous Babylonian symbol in the centre. The most common place we find this symbol is in the Catholic Church, on the object they keep the Eucharist on, or the communion bread. The object has the form of the sun, with the half moon inside it. When one places the Eucharist in the half moon, then one has the complete Babylonian symbol. These objects were first used in Nimrod's time. The symbol of the moon god was often placed on the head, here from pagan Rome, and here on the Indian god Shiva, and here a Roman goddess with a symbol. Here's the goddess Ishtar in Babylon, and here on a picture of Mary in the Catholic Church. Here, as we've already seen, we can see the Egyptian king and queen receiving life, Ankh, from the sun. Here, from the Catholic Church, the apostles receive power, or the Holy Ghost, from the sun. The serpent either symbolized the sun god or was closely connected. After Satan took on the form of a serpent and seduced Adam and Eve, the serpent was cursed and damned to crawl on his belly. Here the serpents recovered his legs in an Egyptian tomb depicting the funeral procession. In pagan mythology, the serpent had wings. Here's the throne adopting the winged serpent. Here's the throne of Bacchus. The winged serpent is carved into the back of the throne. In South America, the sun god was born out of the mouth of the serpent. Here from Egypt, the sun with a serpent wrapped around it, and eagle's wings. And again from Egypt, the sun with two serpents hanging over it, and the eagle's wings. The sun with wings finds its origins in Babylon. Here the sun and the moon symbol. Again, the sun has wings. Here from the Catholic Church, a statue of Mary and Jesus, where Mary has the sun with the wings on her chest. On the bottom of the same statue is the serpent. This staff used by the Catholic priesthood ends in a serpent or a dragon with wings. Here from Babylon, 2 dragons with wings guard 2 serpents that are entwined around a pillar. The serpent on the staff was also used in the pagan religions in Rome and Greece. Here from Ephesus. In the city of Pergamon, the god that carried the serpent on the staff was the most popular attraction. Here from Asia Minor. Here's the Egyptian god Anubis that carries the winged serpent on his staff. Here on one of the Vatican's many paintings. And here you see the same symbol in a painting on the roof of the Vatican. The all-seeing eyes are gathered from Egypt and ancient Babylon. In Tel Brak they have found an entire temple full of the all-seeing eye. The eye is connected to the mother goddess. The eye was used on Mesopotamian and Egyptian amulets and jewellery. The mythological eye has now been adopted into Christianity, here from the Catholic Church. Here we see the eye inside the triangle, surrounded by the sun. Here you see the eye in the sun. Is it the eye of God, or is it the eye of the sun god? In Babylon, they used the rosary, which was also used in Eastern religions. Here, from a Catholic church, Jesus has taken over the custom of Babylon. According to this painting, Jesus also wants to use the rosary. This custom is identical to paganism. The Babylonian goddess Ishtar had the lion as her symbol, here under her throne. Here, placed under her feet, and here, standing on the winged lion. Ishtar was called the Queen of Heaven. Here from the Vatican, Mary is riding the winged lion with a cup in her hand. From Babylon, 2 lions stand either side of a symbolic tree. From a Catholic church of Mary, the sun with Mary inside, and 2 lions each side of the tree. From the same church, Mary's new symbol. The Queen of Heaven on the lion was often depicted with the stars surrounding her head. Today, it's Mary who's called the Queen of Heaven, here with the stars around her head. The goddess Artemis was pictured with 2 outstretched arms, like a mother reaching out for her children. Here's Mary in the Catholic Church. Paganism has changed its name, but not its practices. When Mary gave birth to Jesus, it didn't make her a god, but made Jesus a man. The Bible never mentions the deification of Mary, neither does it ever mention that she went straight to heaven, but it does say that God forbids the worship of any being other than himself. I am the Lord, and that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. Without any regard for what God requests, the Catholic Church has taken the liberty to crown Mary. and here the angels worship her and not God. The forerunner of Ishtar was the goddess Inanna. Often she was depicted with bare breasts, like here from Babylon. Here's the goddess Isis with her divine son. Here's the Roman goddess with her Eros. And here again, Roman. A very popular symbol now taken over by Mary. A bare breast here again from the Catholic Church. It's ironic that most of the Catholic churches are built upon graveyards, and kings and queens are buried inside the churches. From St. Denis in Paris, from Rome, and from St. Peter's Basilica. The pagan worshippers thought that they could pray to this deceased so they could intercede for them. That's why tombs were always placed inside temples. As we said, Emperor Augustus also built a temple for Caesar's tomb, and the Catholic Church adopted this Roman tradition. Here, from the Catholic Church, a place to kneel in front of the casket. Here's a monk kneeling and praying to the dead. The Catholic Church continues the apostasy. Here, baby Jesus is covered in gold. Here's an idol of God in gold. Shockingly, the Catholic priests still use the headdress and the attire that were used by the Babylonian priests. See here. The priests in God's sanctuary had a headdress. The Apostle Paul tells us that Jesus took over the priesthood after he ascended, and he's now the high priest in the sanctuary in heaven. The Catholic Church was never supposed to carry out the priesthood. That was given to Jesus alone. The Babylonian priesthood was well known for its grand headdress, the fish mitre. Here, a deceased pope with a mitre. This is an Egyptian hat. Catholic priests, Babylonian, and Peter with the same hat. This hat is from Pergamon. You can notice two flaps protruding from it. The Pope's hat has the same design. The triple tiara was a crown that symbolized power, here from Babylon. The Pope also has a triple crown. The priests and kings in Babylon used this symbol around their neck to show that they had submitted to the sun god. Today, it's the Catholic priests, bishops, and popes who wear the same Babylonian sun crosses around their necks. Here we can see it from the sun cult in South America. Here is the serpent god himself with his symbol on the shield. Here from a Babylonian cylindrical seal. And here you can see it on the Catholic clothing. Everywhere in the church, the sun god is honoured. This was also the symbol of Baal, with a circle around the cross. Now, Baal's symbol is placed behind the head of Christ in the Catholic Church. Do you recognise this church symbol? Originally, it was a Greco-Egyptian symbol of Isis, Serapis and Dionysus. It's just been adopted straight into the Catholic Church. Babylonian priests wore floral symbols on their wrists. Here in the Catholic Church, and the Pope with the same flower in his hand. God speaks strongly against the worshippers of Baal in the Bible, but the word Baal simply means Lord. Their supreme god was named El, just like the name of the Israelite god, El. That's why it could be confusing. But it wasn't the name they used that showed if they worshipped the true God. It was their obedience, and if they kept God's commandments.
There's a light that shines in the dark when you follow it. When you turn from your ways that lead to destruction, there's no sin that you can't overcome in the name of the Lord, as long as you put your trust in Him.
Why does God warn us so strongly against this church and say that its leader is the Antichrist? The Catholic Church has, from its inception, been Satan's attack on God's truth. And the Bible says God never changes. But nor does Satan and his fallen angels. Here, we can learn from the devil's attack on Israel. First he tried to kill them, but when God protected them and the devil failed, then he deceived them into mixing paganism with God's truth. Satan did exactly the same with the Christian movement. First, Satan tried to kill the Christians through the Roman Empire, but he failed, and the Christians increased in number. When he lost this battle, he tried to destroy the Christian movement from the inside by infiltrating it with pagan teachings and ceremonies. He thereby deceived most of the Christians, and only a few remained loyal to God, recognizing the devil in sheep's clothing. To deceive the Israelites into worshipping Baal, Satan tricked them into praying to the dead. The dead, as the Bible says, are sleeping in the grave. Therefore, it's only the fallen angels who answer those prayers. And by doing this, Satan usurped the place of God in their lives. The exact same thing that happens in the Catholic Church today. The Catholic Church has deceived them into praying to dead saints, and even Mary, who is also dead in the grave, instead of to God. Thus, Satan steals their prayers and usurps their loyalty. And all this in the name of God. God has to warn people against this, to give them a chance to wake up from this deception. In the same way Satan used the Roman Empire to persecute the Christians, he now uses the Catholic Church to destroy them with idolatry. In addition to this, the Catholic Church killed many of those Christians who refused to follow their paganized form of Christianity. With his success, he mocked God with icons and idols and the teachings of Catholicism. Most are blinded that they fail to see what's happening around them. Satan uses all his power to destroy the true understanding of Christ through those who call themselves his representatives but do the total opposite of his will. When Jesus came, he said he was not going to take honour upon himself, but those who would claim to come after him would take honour for themselves. Where Jesus dressed humbly, Satan dressed the Pope like a king.